of reascending the South Col route seemed like small beer. Willi Unsoeld, Tom Hornbein, Barry Corbett, Dick Emerson, Jake Breitenbach, and a couple of others were much more interested in attempting an entirely new route via the formidable West Ridge, an idea first floated by expedition leader Norman Dyhrenfurth several months earlier. As the discussion got underway, Hornbein raised his compadre's eyebrows by proposing that they scrap their plans for the South Col route, which offered a much greater chance of success, and instead direct the full brunt of the expedition's resources at the West Ridge, even if it meant failing to put anyone on the summit. Although Dyhrenfurth quickly shot down Hornbein's suggestion, the team agreed to try the West Ridge as a secondary objective after the summit had been reached by the South Col. Following the meeting, Dyhrenfurth noted in his diary that if they could somehow pull it off, the West Ridge would be the biggest possible thing still to be accomplished in Himalayan mountaineering. During another powwow a week later, however, he cautioned, "Let's not go overboard on the West Ridge. I am just as excited about the West Ridge as you are, but let's not jeopardize the South Col. Let's not make the mistake of throwing all the power, all the oxygen into the West Ridge, because the Col is still our guarantee of success." For the next 2 months, almost all of the team's efforts were focused on putting an American on the summit by way of the South Col. At 5:10 p.m. on May 2nd, Hornbein and Unsoeld were taking a rest at base camp when the radio crackled to life. "The big one and the small one made the top," announced the excited voice of Gil Roberts, calling down from a camp 4,000 feet higher on the mountain. Despite fierce winds that had blasted the upper peak, Jim Whittaker and Nawang Gambu Sherpa had reached the summit from the South Col the previous day. Hornbein and Unsoeld spontaneously threw their arms around one another in an emotional embrace, overcome with joy for Big Jim and Gambu. But Tom and Willi had another reason to be thrilled as well. Their friend's success had just granted Tom, Willi, and the rest of the West Ridge crew the opportunity to pursue their pipe dream. Time was running alarmingly short to establish a series of camps on the unexplored route and stock them with food, fuel, and oxygen. The West Ridgers would have only one shot at a summit attempt, and it came on May 22nd, just 3 days before the expedition was slated to pack up and head for home. At 6:50 a.m., Hornbein and Unsoeld set out for the top from their highest camp, a tiny yellow tent pitched at 27,250 feet on a ledge no wider than a park bench. They had laboriously hacked the ledge, chip by frozen chip, from a steep, ice-choked gully that had been christened Hornbein's Avalanche Trap by expedition wags, and is now officially known as the Hornbein Couloir. At 11 o'clock a.m., 400 feet above their tent, Tom and Willi encountered the crux of the route, a 60-foot wall of crumbly, dead vertical limestone that blocked passage to the peak's uppermost ramparts. With a great deal of effort and some very sketchy climbing, they ascended the cliff in 2 short but exceedingly technical pitches. Climbing of such difficulty had never been done at such extreme altitude. Once they were above the crux, they determined the rock was so unreliable that descending it would require them to take unacceptable risks. Their best chance of making it down alive, they concluded, would be to go up and over the summit, and then descend the other side, in keeping with their original plan. The sun was about to disappear beneath the western horizon when Tom and Willi